Okay. Previous videos, gonna keep reiterating this and reiterating this. We have a constructor method that builds, that creates, that instantiates an object. We have setter methods. Those change attributes of a given object. We have getter methods. Those retrieve information or access information. And now we're down to a print method or even a doer method. Now, when I say print, I'm almost talking in a universal sense. For our discussion, print is printing it back to the screen. But let's say down the road, we want to write something to a file, or we want, if we were to get into graphical user interfaces, launch a window, display something. So it's coming back to you. It's conveying some kind of information. I just gotten into the habit over time of calling it a print method. So constructors, setters, getters, print, or doers. Now, through the magic of cut and paste, I've already created a print method, and let's take a look at it. So cut and paste, and first of all, let me bring up my screen here where we left off, and I'm going to put a print method here. And let's take a look at what this print method does. The print method is called print basic attributes. All we've done so far is we've constructed a character. We passed along character's name, username. We've passed along strength, dexterity, intelligence, health. It would be nice to know to keep track of all that stuff, to display that stuff back. I'm even going to make a change here. You'll notice in this print method here, I have a print statement that says print self character first name. What am I doing here? I am reconstructing. Remember, one of our primary rules in any kind of programming is not to repeat code. Well, guess what? Didn't I create up here a get method that will do this for me? So I'm going to replace this with get full character name. We're not going to pass it anything because it's the self, it's the object that we're currently working with. So this says print the object you're currently working with. That's what self is. Print get full name, right? So it's going to return back. It's going to say, get me the full character name, return it back. So we're going to return that back. Then we just have some formatting here. We have a print basic attributes. Then we go and we start printing out all the stuff that we've given here. So we have point, strength, dexterity. Clear the screen. And let's clean up down here. We're going to get rid of this print statement, and we're going to call the print method. So we're going to say Alice, November, dot notation, print basic attributes. Not going to send it anything because we're using self there. And we're going to do the exact same thing for now the new one. Alice. Now you see why I use the magic of cut and paste. Sword dot print basic attributes. All right. So not going to send anything. We're going to do that for Bob. Oscar dot print basic attributes. And we'll do it for Bob Bowman. Print basic attributes. Right? Not sending anything. It's just going to pass along the self. And if I typed everything correctly, we should see something a little bit better formatted here. You know what? To clean some things up, I don't need to see Alice anymore. I was just thinking about this. I don't need to see that one anymore. Don't need to see that anymore. So let's break this down before we run it. We are creating a object called Alice November. We pass it this information. Remember, there was some default information there, so it's going to create it. At some point, we decide to change that character's last name. We change it to Mighty Sword. And then we basically did a copy of the new object, right, to kind of clean things up a little bit. And then now we're going to print the basic attributes associated with Mighty Sword. And we did it with Bob Bowman. And there's our output. Alice Mighty Sword, her basic attributes are points 25, strength 10, 20, 20, etc. Same thing with Bob. His basic points are 25. Remember, we adjusted his strength and his dexterity a little bit, and I'm misspelling dexterity, so that's going to drive me crazy. Dexterity. No, I didn't. Constructors, setters, getters, print, or doers. Again, the print, I'm using the phrase print because I'm printing it back to the screen. I could write it to a file. I can send it someplace else. There's a lot of things, but I refer to them as the print method here. So we've covered a lot of material associated with object-oriented programming. With the videos that we've just covered, you can get into the early stages of OOP. In subsequent videos, we're going to raise the complexity here. If we go back to GURPS, look at this stuff here that we can now start programming. At a certain point, I want to increase the strength or decrease the strength. Maybe I'm getting stuff and I want to improve this character. We haven't even talked about character points. That'll be for another video. How are those used? Where do those come into play? So we covered the basics. Go back to, we've covered the basics of, we created an object. We had a setter of particular attributes. I mean, now we're looking at GURPS, and there's a whole bunch of other attributes we have to create. So as I said before, if I change an attribute, and this is a common practice in OOP, if I change one attribute, it can affect other attributes. We have getter methods that retrieve us information. I have very fundamental basic ones where, get the first name, last name. Then I had a little bit more where I began to do stuff where I said, send me back the full name for the character, send me back the full name. And then we get into this nice little print method. You can see where this is all going to go. So we're going to expand upon this information. With these objects, we can then do all that stuff that we've done with other programming labs. For example, I'm hard coding everything. I'm basically creating two objects. What if I wanted to create thousands of objects? I'm building a mighty quest and I want 100 of these characters. Well, maybe I can do that by reading a text file. And then as I'm creating these users, I can put them into a list or something. So you can see that even just these two individuals, there's a lot going on here. I could begin to compare these individuals, do the logic of saying, who's stronger, Alice or Bob? And I would do a comparison. Who's smarter, Alice or Bob? And that would be, basically, if Alice's IQ is greater than Bob's IQ. And you can see where this logic comes into play. So we've covered a lot of basics, but these basics are even somewhat complex. In the next set of videos, we're going to just raise the level of complexity just a little bit more. Maybe we'll start looking at those secondary attributes, the ones that are based on the basic ones. That being said, let's go out and learn something.